Today's guest is Kelly Keefe, who is the founder of the Heartspace, which was established in 2016. She's a Reiki Master Teacher, transformation guide, vibration artist, and is passionate about helping people live from their heart space. She's also an author in both nonfiction and fiction, and an international speaker. And when Kelly's serving globally, she provides coaching, Reiki trainings, and transformational group journeys that support people to radically transform their life for the better, to help you create your reality from the heart. And in her book, Rise Above Fear, Kelly supports you in understanding how fear works and how we can befriend it and transcend the barriers we place upon ourselves. And she does this while living fully and loves to see others do the same. So, Kelly, thank you very much for being on. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. And even just from reading the bio and obviously our conversations off air before we recorded it, I know we share a lot of the same like values and sentiments as far as like, how we view the world, what we want for the world, what our work is about, how it contributes to that. So I'd love for you to just dive into like, how did you get to doing what you're doing and kind of what are you all about beyond just the bio?
Yeah. How did I get to doing what I'm doing? Consciously, back in college, at the end of freshman year, I was around 250 pounds and I had a education and anthropology major. And it's like a light switch. All of a sudden, I knew I needed to drop the weight. I shifted my diet. I was working out every day and I changed my major to business. Looking in hindsight, connecting the dots, hashtag Steve Jobs, where I was being primed by something larger than me to, support me in remembering who I'm here to be this lifetime. So through the weight loss journey, I found yoga, meditation, and started going into entrepreneurship, personal development, sales training. So I was like kind of getting ricocheted through all of the different aspects of self growth and personal development. And I was in meditation one day about, 10 years ago. And I had a clairaudient message come through, look up healing modalities. You're a healer. And it was like, I don't know what this is, but I know I need to listen. And I did. And I came across Reiki. It rippled through my body. 2 days later, I was at a Barnes and Noble and very serendipitously met my first teacher. And it's been a journey of deep listening and following and being led around the world, sitting with indigenous elders of different tribes and explorations of truth and learnings and growth and diving within is it was through my own deep healing and rewiring and remembering. Um, that was how I got here. And then when, beyond the bio, I'm an artist through and through. I believe it's just creative energy runs through me at all times. So it's through birthing businesses and I have an album I'm making, the new novel's coming out. So I'm just always creating. I love to create. And when I've remembered that I am a conscious creator and I can just create my reality at large and birth things within it, then that's just kind of been the MO ever since.
Love it, love it from many different angles to like the serendipitous story to your attitudes about creation to like the healing bit and what that is. So love it from all those angles. And knowing that, you're out there to serve, what I'm curious about is like, how can I support you best today?
I appreciate that. I believe nothing is, accidental. So I'm looking forward to, I'm always open to blind spots. I'm somewhere I'm like, I'm here to do the work. I surround myself with people who know that they can speak very clearly with me. We are there to support each other, so I'm open to that. And then of course, always that if there's something from your heart that you feel is like, oh, I should really connect her with this person, or, this event's happening, this and that, like always just in bringing in deep listening and continuing to weave the tapestry.
Perfect. So what are like the top challenges or problems that you're facing right now?
Yeah, I would say there's still a bit of the enrollments, like the amount of humans that I'd like to be helping, where again, this is where it's I know spirit always provides me with whom I am to hold, or, have the capacity to hold at this moment. Um, but there's waves and spikes still of clients, income, this and that, where I know that it could be so much more.
Okay. So kind of like the feast and famine income pattern, right? Like, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, that feels a little bit extreme for the reality of it right now, but yes, that's the undercurrent pattern. Yeah.
Okay. So like lack of stability, would that be more accurate to describe what you're going through?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so neurolinguistic programming, I just mind you, I filter everything through neurolinguistic programming, so I'm gonna nitpick at the words. So I won't subscribe to certain
But
words.
by all means, yes.
Yeah. um, I am financially stable. I can, pay my monthly things. I have savings, I invest in my projects. There's no concern of money. It's, I guess, more glass ceiling
Hmm.
kind of dynamics where it's okay, we're here, we've done so much growth of like, okay, we're stable, but I'm aware that there's other levels of my service and income that's available.
Okay. Perfect. So dive a bit more into that. Like, let's just say, okay, that's true for everybody. So what does that
Right.
actually mean for you?
That means for me, I've been clear for a long time of these different feelings and visions, and insert any of the sensitivities and the things and the foresights of, with ease, there is, a possibility of, $1 million, the first million, like, oh, okay, this is a norm. And then the next and the next. So I know that it's here. And there's times I can get myself where I'm like, girl, it's right here somewhere. Like I can feel it. And it's just like, hello, we're here when you're ready. I'm surrounded by, millionaires all around, or my friend, so the energy is around me. There's something still within me that's resisting allowing that energy to come through my experience.
Okay. Got it. So knowing how self-aware you are, how much work you've done on yourself, the fact that you do this with other people, how would you coach yourself through this situation?
Great question. Uh, um, I love when working with clients around money, I like to do a relationship inventory and see what is the relationship that they have with money currently. Do they need a date night? As soon as they walk in the door, do they say, great, there's work for you to do, and push them out? Do they, spend some time with them, show them gratitude, show appreciation? Um, so I can see maybe having a little date night with money. So I haven't, we have a good relationship, but there's clearly we need to have some open, honest conversations happening.
Hmm.
Mm, and then also exploring, it brings a space where the callings within my being to go deeper into my speaking engagements and the arts. Um, there's parts of me that question if that's really, being of service in that way. That's where the money is. I don't know why I air quoted that. It's quite literally what we're talking about. That's where the money is the another path of my expression, is the way that would tap into that energy source.
Okay. So are you actually unclear how to go about getting this next or getting past this glass ceiling? Or is it something else?
There's times where, let me reverse. The last month, I really sat with it. I went into the cave in January and February. I had the clients that I had, which is also part of the space where I was just like, hold on. I need to pour into myself and get clear. And I love speaking engagements. I have this novel's coming out through Pegasus, so we're launching, where I can feel the brewing of other parts of my being are coming to the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that knowingness. Yeah, I guess I'm pretty clear. There's a knowingness that as I'm pursuing more of the showing up in this role of the writer, and I now have a team putting together our speaker site and to start to promote us in that way, sharing at the grander audiences and going a bit bigger, is what's being asked of me that's going to bring it. So maybe, yeah, I guess I'm kind of clear on it. We're just getting the transition phase.
Okay. So then what's the problem?
There really isn't a problem. I'm someone who's always open to blind spots, where it's like I've been in a space where there's a sales call of an organization, I decide not to go with them on this thing. But in her wording, one, I also have sales training. I've done sales. I had a sales and operate, like I know sales at the back of my hand. And I don't knock it. I love it. It's a good art. But there's certain things where she's trying to like lead me to like, oh, I'm accepting this problem. Blah, 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 blah. And she said something where she was like, so I hear you of, you've been here and you've just been all these, this time you've been trying to just like buck up against the wall, you're trying to break through. And I said, that's not actually my truth. I was like, I can feel I really feel I'm embodied if I walk and talk what I teach, where it's like everything's been exactly what it needed to be. And now it's just simply time.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's been leading up to, oh, okay, so now it's time. There's time for another new system. There's time for an increase of this. There's a time for the speaking opportunities. So perhaps I kind of get my head like, should I be perceiving this as a problem? I think that's kind of where I can get. Sometimes I'm so at peace with where everything is, even if it's not the making, a million that, a year or on this project, this and that. But there's a deep know in myself of like, I am where I'm supposed to be and what's supposed to be happening.
Okay. Which is
Yeah.
great. Like
Which
then
is great. But I'm always
that's a
open where I'm
good
like,
spot to be.
I don't know what I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always open to people having, I'm a human. So there can be blind spots all around me. So,
Okay.
yeah, I'm always open to that.
So if there's no problem, you're clear where it is you want to go and in many ways how you're going to get there. And if the time of gestation for all these things to happen is the season of your life that you're
Yeah.
in, why even bother looking at blind spots?
Because I love personal development and becoming the best version of myself. And I know blind spots never end.
Okay, true. So in this instance, if you go back to how we started this conversation about the relationship, and you're like, okay, well, if I was coaching somebody else, I would, well, what's your relationship to this whole thing? And you're like, well, maybe there's like a conversation that doesn't happen that needed to happen, that's
Yeah.
been pushed under the rug. What might be a conversation? What might be a part of the relationship that's been in the dark that you didn't want to look at?
Nice. A big part of it, I feel, is if we're personifying money, which I love to do,
Mm-hmm.
there's that way of telling it like what its job is, how to come, like what to go out into the world and do, and how to bring in the money. Where it's like, I'm telling you, I want to go pursue something else. And if you just trust me, I'll bring home the bacon, you know? Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of I'm setting the expectations on them, and say like, this is the way to go do it. And they're like, listen, I've evolved, I've been changing, and like you gotta let me like be my own person and like do this and trust me.
Okay. And that's towards money. So you got to let money
Yeah,
like
that's money involved.
evolve and do its own thing, knowing that it's got the relationship's best interest at heart.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you resist about that?
There's still some ego death happening
Mhm.
um around showing up in the world and building heart space to what it has been, um and being that, that space and that identity for people for so long, and it's a part that I love. um so there's still a bit of like the grief cycle at play of like, oh, I've evolved and I don't get to choose what stays and what goes. Like I'm stepping into other things I like, but part of that means like I gain something, which means I have to lose something else. And I'm still kind of doing this dance of like, but I don't want that part to go. And spirit's like, you don't get to choose. I tell you what goes and what stays. So I'm kind of still playing in this limbo.
Okay. So which parts are you unwilling to let go of?
Mm, thank you for making it be a radical responsibility. And it's very much so my choice that I am not willing to let it go. Being specific in the like energy healer space, I love coaching. I love NLP. I love the subconscious. I love the transformational interaction ricochet like this. I love doing this. Um, but being someone, booking a single Reiki session or working in the realm of all that, I I'm not passionate about it anymore.
It's kind of like being face to face, for lack of a better term, like in the dirt with the people that you're directly transforming. That doesn't resonate as much anymore.
No, it's more for me, Reiki is very passive
Hmm.
with the individual. And for me, as someone who is an apprentice under an indigenous grandmother for 3 years and initiated by Mayan elders and sit with the Maoris and the Dogons, there's so much more that happens within an individual session that it's not even a Reiki session. And it's something where I'm a trailblazer. I'm an innovator. I'm an Aquarius North node. I'm here to innovate, and when I started being out in the scene, no one knew what Reiki was. And I was a part of that group to get it now to a thing. Then yesterday I was at an event and I asked, this group of women, I said, like, I'm curious, who here is familiar with what Reiki is? And every single person did. So for me, there's a part of me that says, that mission for me is done.
Mm. Okay.
I trailblazed it. We did it. The collective's aware of it. So I like to be on to the next thing of the next wave of growth, which for me is the power of our words, our thoughts, NLP, music, the writing, storytelling, things of that nature. But it's a part of people love, it's that people pleasing. Fuck, it's people pleasing. Uh,
Okay. So tell me more about that.
um, I'm hypersensitive to being able to point out with self and others when we are people pleasing. We've been conditioned that way, self included. I'm a human. Where if there's something that brings other people joy, I know holding that space or facilitating that and supporting people in that way, it supports them and it's very powerful, this and that, but I'm low-key like, no thanks. Which there's parts of me that goes like, am I not being grateful for the gift that God has placed within me? like I say this with humility because it's not me, it's God moving through me, but I'm a very powerful healer. So there's times where I'm like, am I just kind of, you know, discarding or not respecting? That's what it is. Am I not showing reverence for this gift that is within me and not showing up for, you know, for that at this time? If I just be like, yeah, cool, I have that ability, no, I'm good, I'm gonna, like, go make music.
Okay. So how does that relate to people pleasing? Because you're like, oh yeah, it's like people pleasing. Like, are they related to you, or they're just two separate patterns interwoven into this issue?
For me, people pleasing is when you do something for others when you don't want to do it because you want to make them happy
Mm-hmm.
and to please them.
That's fine. So how does it relate to you personally?
For me, it's coincided of seeing the, people reaching out to me, previous students, people who want a session, ask me to do Reiki at an event or want to learn from me. There's times where I'm like, I actually don't want to do that,
Okay.
but I will.
Okay. So that's the part that you have to make peace with letting go
Yeah.
in order to step into this next chapter of your life.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's coming up for you with that reflection?
An agreement. And it's interesting of where I can question myself in it is people, around me who are also very tuned in and, seen have been, my ride or dies through a lot of this in different ways will continue to show up. Great example. We were redoing my website SEO stuff. I have a friend who's a wizard in all sorts, and definitely including SEO and tech things. And I was like, cool. So I really want to put an emphasis on the transformational coaching and like this and that. And he goes through and he goes, so I did all this SEO for Reiki. When you go on now, just as like an introduction to the subtle healing, and like everything is Reikified. And I'm like, bro, I said, like, I'm trying to actually move away from that a bit. And he said, but that's like the biggest buzzword. That's what people are looking for. Everyone in the collective knows it. Like, you just hit this point. He's like, you've been carrying this for 10 years, and you just, like, the collective has just gone to a place where they're looking for it, and
Mm-hmm.
you're an OG in the game. He's like, what are you doing? Like, putting it down and running from it. And I was just like, you might be right. So that's kind of where I can get into where I'm like in a business side where I'm like, that's right. People are looking for. I've been, we've been established. That's less than how long I've been practicing, but we've been open for business since 2016. And I do care about the spiritual well-being of all people. I understand protections. I understand, like I practice with integrity. There's a lot of people out there that don't, so there's a lot to it of my like, yeah, that's what comes up for me.
Okay. So in that instance, do you actually have a glass ceiling issue, or do you have a letting go of an old identity issue?
The letting go of an old identity issue.
Okay. So that's quite important because they're two completely different problems.
Yeah,
Okay. So what's coming up with that?
true.
Okay. And what's the internal feeling with that reflection?
Ease, to be honest. What comes up for me that is the how. It's more, and like not the how within my own being. For me, it's more the how do I shed that away from the external world of the business, what's there. And I've been playing with it. I have two of my students are now on the site so people can book sessions with them. So I've been playing with it, but there's still part that is holding on. So what comes up for me is but how do I do it so clearly, you know,
Okay.
in the
So
world?
then is it how tactically do
Yeah.
I let go of the business elements of this? Or is it more how internally do I let go of the people pleasing, the guilt, the inertia, the expectations, my own baggage around this so that I can transition at peace?
I truly feel it's more the tactile. Like I'm pretty, I won't curse because I don't know if you have to
You
censor.
can make
I'm
this into a
pretty
pirate episode all you want. So by all means,
I'm a
if you need to
Jersey girl,
swear,
it
by
happens.
all
But we
means,
get really real, the Jersey comes out.
uh, do it. But by all means, let it flow.
Like I'm really fucking good at like knowing myself, articulating it to people, like practicing what I teach, in the space of like know thyself and like be clear with it. My direct communication has got, like skyrocketed. I'm not afraid of hard conversations. Like all of that, I feel good. And I've expressed to people I kind of felt this wavering. For me, it is okay, how do I transition out of that in the business side of things in a way that's still my love for humanity? Like, this is, I'm about to say, I can hear myself. I'm like, who are you? Like, you're a drop in the ocean, Kelly Keefe. Like, of like, like leaving people that who need us, or like, they'll be okay. Coach myself on that. They'll be fine.
Yep.
We're so
So
funny. Humans are so silly. Sorry.
we sure are. If we weren't so silly, we wouldn't really have work. So
This
that's
is
also fair,
true.
you know.
Thank God. Thank you for all the silliness, humans.
Yes, 100%. So, given everything that you've built in the past, you're an OG in this game, you built a successful business. I just find it hard to believe that you don't have an idea of how to like transition the business side of these things. Like, sure, there's always going to be things that like, okay, how would I navigate XYZ situation? But like strategically, like you even said it yourself, like, oh yeah, I've got like two students that like I trust
Mm.
that people can take. So I'm like it doesn't add up to me from the outside looking in that somebody of your caliber and your experience would not have an idea of like how do I transition this business.
I appreciate that. I appreciate seeing me in that light. It's well, one, there's a part of that piece of it, and maybe it's on me that I built it this way, where people are also coming to me. They come
Mhm.
for me. It's not necessarily the Reiki, this and that, which is so much of what all of us do. People are essentially coming to receive our transmission, our insight, our energy, this and that.
Okay. And if you said no,
Yeah.
then fill in the blank.
That's what hits me. That's what hits my heart.
Okay. So what is that
Um,
specifically?
it brings me to seasons where I really needed somebody, where I was in my darkness, I was in my shadow, I was in that space of feeling lost or awakening and this and that. And to have someone reach out to me for a lifeline and pull them like push away, that doesn't feel good.
Okay. So
Oof.
what does that make you to these individuals?
Meaning if I say no to them or the fact that they reach out to me.
So the question was, so it's like, okay, well, people are reaching out to me and I ask you, okay, well, if you say no to them, then what essentially does that mean about you? And you're like, well, that takes me to this wounding place where
Yeah.
when I was in my darkness and I reached out to somebody and they said no, it would be like absolutely devastating.
Mm.
Fair. And what does that make you in relation to these people?
The way you said in the first, like with fill in the blank, it came to me and they go together. for me, how I would perceive that is telling somebody, also understanding people's psyche and their inner child, this and that, is saying, I don't care.
Okay. So to put it more directly, what does that make you?
Cold?
Okay. Could be, but cold could just be like, nah. But this is like your description was like somebody's devastated. It's like they're about to die, and I'm saying no to them.
Well, not about to die, but great people know previous student. I mean, I have when we did an outreach to previous students before, I have 100 to 150 Reiki students through over the years at this point, and they know that they can reach out at any time, and that won't change if I'm not doing sessions. Like I'm an elder in training. I mean, literally elders find me out in the wild, aka Manhattan, and like they'll just find me and have tea with me. And, you know, there's a level of spiritual elder that I'm being primed for through this incarnation. And so there's a space of feeling there's a responsibility
Mm-hmm.
to be there, especially at these pivotal times of the great transition, where where it's like, whose line is it anyway? Where everything's made up and the points don't matter. Um,
Okay.
um, yeah, I guess there's a sense of there's a bit of a pattern there of wanting to protect others, which also protecting myself. What I'm wanting to do is protect others from feeling not cared for or going through that season and not being there. And also trying to protect myself from them not, you know, feeling some ill towards me or feeling I rejected them, which could mean things about me, this and that.
Okay. So
Because
if we
I
just
do,
stick
I
to
love.
those
Yeah,
two lines, right?
cool.
So protecting
Yeah,
others from feeling not cared for, and
yeah,
then protecting myself from them feeling ill towards me.
yeah.
Okay. Are you responsible for other people's feelings?
No.
Yet, the attitude towards saying no, the part that freaks you out most about it is this ownership of, well, people are going to feel like I'm going to make them feel ill towards me. And I have to take it on me to protect them from feeling not cared for by me saying no and making a self honoring choice to move into my next evolution. So, what's landing with that reflection?
What's landing is I appreciate mirroring it back, because even hearing the ill wishes towards me, like it actually doesn't land in me. I feel like I'm like truthfully, I'm trying to fish for stuff to make it about me too, because
Mm-hmm.
I am like fully, I want to take radical responsibility. I'm like, find what's in there for you, Kelly. Like there's something about me, because it always comes back to us. So that's not
Right.
it. But what does land, and I trust we'll find it. You're good at what you do. We'll find it. It's not the concern of ill wishes towards me. Think whatever the fuck you want. I have protection for days. I'm gonna do me. Um, there is this my level of care. Like I love so deeply. I love humans and I care so deeply, perhaps to a flaw
Mm-hmm.
at times, maybe. Um, but
So,
that's what really comes up for me. There's
put
this
a
space where it's like, I
different
can't do
way,
that. Hmm?
that level of caring and depth about the other, do you apply that same standard to yourself?
I have been. Yeah.
Okay. So, how does that relate to resisting self honoring choices of saying no?
Because I'm really good at talking myself into it and knowing. on an energetic and the higher plane level, I'm also getting so much out of it. So that's kind of how I talk myself back into it.
Right. So whether you want to rationalize something mentally, energetically, is it like it's still rationalizing saying yes when you really want to say no.
Yeah.
So really, like the through line for me from the outside looking in, when you were describing this whole thing, like going from, is this really about glass ceiling or is it about letting go of this identity and I can't let go of it, essentially because of people pleasing?
Yeah.
That there's a strong savior concept in this.
Mm.
Like if you're familiar with the drama triangle, right? Like, hey, are you familiar with that or
Yep.
like, okay,
Yeah.
right? So victim always needs a
Mm.
perpetrator, and then the one that completes the triangle is the savior. It's like the way you speak about the people in your world is straight out of the savior
Yeah.
complex, right? I need to protect people from not feeling cared for. Like I
Yeah.
gotta cushion them in as much like softness so that they never feel like I'm never caring for them and I can take care of them,
Mm.
right? I treat them like victims who cannot process and handle a no
Mm.
and their own emotions because that allows me to continue to be the savior in their space. And I know that's not the fullest expression of who you
Right.
are, it's a distortion of your gift,
Yeah.
but it is the thing that's coming up as the limiter to you stepping into the next part of your evolution. Like it's very hard to genuinely and fully call that in its fullest expression when the savior part of you is so strong and attached to the past 10 years of what you've been building.
Yeah.
So what's landing for you there?
Yeah. What lands for me is that it's creating clarity, the desire to release the more passive space of Reiki, of this and that. For me, doing that is because it does feel more that way. Someone calls, I had a breakup or this and that. They come into the space, I create that container, we sage it up. I do all this stuff. They get up, they feel so much better, and off they go.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm a tough cookie. When someone's like, I'm coaching them or this and that, like, you got this. Like, empowerment's my medicine,
Mm-hmm.
and so it actually like grind my gears to hear, like, where I'm like, that's the complete opposite of how I actually like coach, through the spaces and like through my group program. So I carry the masculine energy in it, where I'll be like, I'm confronting. Which why I appreciate this, or it's like a dose of my own medicine. So I'm very confronting. It's like, no, you're gonna do the work. You got this. You're like, yeah, I know it sucks. You got this. Pick yourself up. Go ahead. So that it's creating a clarity for me of why I'm feeling that desire to let that piece go of it, because I don't want to be that. That's
Correct.
not me, and I feel it doesn't actually serve humanity with where we're going.
Right. And
Yeah.
to just bring it back to, because again, the linchpin here is the people pleasing, right? Like look at where your brain went to. This pattern that has everything to do with me not or letting go of being a savior, your brain went to, well, me being a savior doesn't actually serve humanity, right? Like,
Right.
i.e., it's geared towards how it impacts the other and bypasses your own self-honoring choice, which is what this is all about. Because the way you get out of the drama triangle, you don't break it, you leave. You
Right.
allow it to not be a triangle anymore, right? And even in the space of like exploring who would you be without this pattern, the immediate place your brain went to, and this is the patterning and the programming, like the distortion of your gift. How does that impact other people? What is the ripple effect of me doing this for other people? It will have a ripple effect, yes, and it has to start with you. the lens has to be turned back onto you.
Agreed. And I am you. I am everyone. We're in the age of Aquarius. Pluto shifted into Aquarius yesterday. We're quite literally in the space of everything I do is affecting everybody. And I get joy out of watching someone, boom, 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 watch your power go. I get off to that, like, so that does fuel me, and I'm clear of that. I'm also clear, like I love making my music. I'm doing, like all of that is clear. So I like to say I've shifted, and I appreciate there's still a residual here to look at. And I appreciate, I'm not denying, the people pleasing and remnants of the savior complex. I'm not dismissing anything we're discussing on the table. What I'm saying, like what's clear for me is also I've shifted from the old belief of I'm here to save the world to I'm here to serve the world.
Correct.
And that's something I know, I'm here to serve. So of course, I think of others, through things. That's also just my MO. I'm a Virgo with a Capricorn stellium and Aquarius North Node. Like everything of my being is here to serve. All my music, my comedy, everything is always with the space, with the intention to support people in remembering their power and up leveling. So I feel that's my filter at large of who I am at my core. That feels fucking good. That's not a pattern. That's who I am, with a full agreement that there's a remnant in terms of my career and how I'm serving that we're looking at.
100%. And I actually think that that's a good point, in that I agree with you. This is not like an absolutist thing of like, this is the main thing. This is, like I said, it's a distortion of your gift that is kind of like the one piece that doesn't belong here for the next thing that you want to do. It's not, the main, like a, let's just say, quote unquote, tradition or a typical block where it's like, this is the main thing that's stopping me. This is more like the puzzle is like 80% complete, but this wrong piece is in here to actually complete it. Like that's like what I'm sensing with it. I know that's what you were reflecting as well. I was just more reflecting back, like where your brain went to, even in that one instance, because it's always going to be interconnected. And as all distortions, it's not like it is your gift, but then just distorted. So it's always going to look exactly like who you are. The problem becomes when that distortion impacts where it is that you want to go. So I was more reflecting back to like the minutia and the nuance of it. Yeah, 110%. I understand the whole service bit, and that's clearly who you are to the core. So yeah, if anything else you want to add to that, that's just a reflection I have.
I appreciate it. I'm curious, what is your definition of distortion? I'm with you. I'm, again, full resonance with you, just for a deeper into your lens, your world, your expertise, to receive your medicine more clearly and more potently. I'd love to hear what's your definition of distortion, like what that means for you and your perspective of me in this moment.
Sure. That's a great question. So the way that I view, so one of the things I've said many times on this podcast and in my coaching is that your primary gift becomes your first distortion. Meaning like this thing that is like a pure expression of who you are to be used for your highest good, when applied in a way that is in some way not reflective of your highest good, or it has layers on it which distort the gift, you end up with like the man with the hammer problem. Right. So for the man with a hammer, everything becomes a nail. So in this instance, like I am a healer. So that's my primary strength. The way I go about the world and the way that the world views me, that gets value from me, the way that I navigate and can sometimes even like from security and protection, the way that I can do that is I'm so good at healing and attuning to what people need that gift ends up being distorted by me people pleasing and just suppressing my own needs to affect the other. right? So when it comes to something like the savior complex, and especially healers, this is often very common, right?
Mhm.
What are we going to do? We're going to have a hard time saying no, because we know that we can use our gift to impact this person. That's a great thing.
Yeah.
And that gift is in its distortion when it works against your highest good,
Right.
right? Because now the one person that I'm not healing is actually myself.
Mm.
And to the degree that I'm unhealed and using this distortion, that's the cap of my capacity to experience whatever the next thing is,
Mm.
right? So going back to your example, that's the limiter right now, right? It's
Mm.
not glass ceiling. It is, yeah, letting go of an old identity, but really it's revealing, healing, and eliminating the remnants of your savior complex.
Yeah. Mm.
So I know it was a big roundabout way to explain it,
Yeah,
but
no, it's
that's how it
good.
lands.
Side note, I mean, go back and chop and edit that piece. That's fire content for some like voiceover, a reel, this and that. Like that was just fuego, dude. Like,
I will. It's like it, and
yeah.
it's even me. It's not even the guest, so that's even better,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will use it. So no worries.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Hmm.
So what's coming up for you now? Because I see you're in a very contemplative state.
Yeah. What's hitting is it's that root. It's like there's even the safety and the security. It's how I've built my business. It's how I've done the thing. So it's that level of also getting to evolve as well and practice what I teach, of letting that piece go, and get to see what fills that plate, that space. But it's like, well, wait, hold on, like, one-on-one session or doing the trainings, this and that, you know, letting that go and completely evolving it, leaves a lot of the unknown. So
Mhm.
it hits a little bit of the root where it's like, oh, that's right. Like if I stop doing that, that means I stop doing that. Yeah.
Correct. So
That's
as
wise words. If you stop doing that, that means you stop doing that.
right, which if it was that simple, you would have already done it, and like
Right.
knowing through this, there's going to be layers to that, and like I said, right, as much as I would love to be able to snap my
Right.
fingers and eliminate this for you in one session, I unfortunately can't. But as far as like mapping this out or getting clarity on this, like, does this feel complete for you? Is there still something left outstanding?
No, it feels complete. It's I appreciate us, you know, playing in something that's been here that I've been, like meandering and starting to make moves in a very Virgo way. I've been, starting to set up my next steps for the moment to let it go. So, do my best to set myself up smart because I do love myself. So I make moves and evolve strategically. Um, but being able to look at the emotional charge of it, I appreciate getting to do some of that live and, get to allow you to witness an evolution of of my being lifetime and get to it's like swimming in a little bit. Nothing like letting people know that that's going to be shifting, like doing it on something that like the public can find. You gotta love that.
100%. Right. It's a beautiful thing, which I thank you for allowing us to witness and to be in this space. So why don't you just close us off with then, where people can find you and who's the best person to find you? Floor is yours for that.
Yeah, you can find me on, I would say, Instagram. I am Kelly Keefe, where you can get a full array of me. And you can also go to heartspace.co to check out more of the transformational coaching and the group programs that we do.
Love it. Well, as always, that'll be included in the show notes. Kelly, thank you very much for being on, and for everybody else listening. We'll see you on the next one.